I could tell from his voice he was us. He started putting the story back together, and he followed his tree all the way back to Johnny Appleseed line. And he says, I've been looking for you my whole life.
What's up, everybody? Adrian Boysel back for another episode of Love Gangster. I have a very special interview with a very special guest, the Soil King. He's a steward of Mother Earth and has done amazing things in the world, and I really am excited to get into a deep interview with him about what he's doing, what he's worked on, what he's currently working on, and what he's going to be doing in the future. And then we'll have a challenge for you at the end. That all being said, Patrick. Dude,
thank you, brother.
Good to have you here, brother.
It's good to see you again.
You too, you too.
I mean, I think our worlds are been ready to collide a little bit.
Yeah.
It's just like, here we are all of a sudden, both Bay Area boys, right?
That's right.
NorCal boys.
NorCal, that's right. Yeah, timing is perfect with God, and I think that everything that's happened, and you seeing you here again, and just our last conversation was incredible. So you were very impactful for me when I was just listening to a podcast episode that you had done with Jordan.
Yeah.
And I went home and I'm like, babe, you gotta listen to this. Did you know that soil this? And there's no like grass and weeds. And I'm like regurgitating what I could remember from the conversation. My wife's like, whoa, I didn't think about that. I'm like, I didn't realize how bad potatoes were, right? So with that all being said, give people a little bit of background about you, your ancestry of where you come from and the whole thing. I wasn't even telling my wife that. Give them a little bit of background of who you are and why they should be listening to you.
I mean, first I always say, and I embrace and I'm built by my story, 100%. And I always talk about the 13-year-old kid within, my solid rock who is always telling me, you know, oh, here he goes again. We got to try to work to straighten this out. But the relationship with self is super important to me.
Very.
And I'm honored to love myself today.
Good.
So a little bit about backstory about me, you know, as a kid, my first memory is hands in the soil. It was hard on my life, but the hands in the soil is, I would say, the most consistent thing in my life is what Mother Nature provides, and the biological serenity I get from hands and feet in the soil, and peanut butter.
Peanut butter.
Peanut butter is the most consistent thing in my life. It fed me as a child. You know, I had a hard childhood. You know, when at the age of 13, I came home and tried to open the door to the house, and it was locked. I looked through the window, the furniture's gone. Looked through my bedroom, no furniture is in it. Mom is a wonderful person. I'm not knocking her. And this is part of my story that I embrace. Right. And I carried her out of this world, and I love her to death. And she's right here as an angel with me today. But it is part of my story of being homeless as a child from that point on, and living in a creek and washing my hair in the creek and trying to wake up to get to school to ride my bike, and realizing there has to be more to life than this. And so I went straight into construction, building. You know, I've been cultivating, growing weeds since I was a child as well too. So, I mean, plant botanicals save lives. The regenerative agriculture is the future and the past of, you know, everything we've come from to everything we're going. Regenerative lifestyle.
Yep.
Also, I think you were getting at as being a 5th generation Johnny Appleseed, right?
That's incredible. Like, Johnny Appleseed like that. That's the you think that you hear those stories in school, elementary school, you're like, that can't be real.
I was doing backflips. I'm like, he's not a fake. I started studying after I figured this out. It was later in life.
That's incredible.
It's so funny because it was about 15 years ago. I'm in a men's group, maybe 12, 13, something like that.
Yeah.
Between 10 and 15 years. I'm in this men's group, and we're going around, you know, and everybody's saying what if they had to pick one person in history who they wanted to be like. It went around the room, and there was Gandhi, Jesus, NFL players. I mean, you just go around where the egos are just flying, and people are really trying to get back to real teachers. And it came to me, and I'm like, man, if I had to pick one person, it would, and I always thought this, man, Johnny Appleseed touched the lives. You know, his monetary contribution is to touch the lives of children for eternity. Like, there is nothing else left behind but that. And so I went around the room. Everybody laughed at me. I was embarrassed, right? I'm like, okay, but this is what I see, you know. And I explained myself, and it was kind of funny to everybody else, which has been my life, funny to everybody else, but real to me.
To everybody else.
Yeah, yeah, you get it. And again, 13-year-old boys like, yeah, we're Johnny. Yeah, you know, you answered that right. Snap forward 5 years later, Ancestry.com. Right? I'm like, all of a sudden I get a phone call. I got a few phone calls, and it was like, and Soil King was just kind of getting big at the time. And I'm like, great. So everybody wants to attach to something. I get a phone call, and it's like, I'm your uncle. And I'm like, okay, how does this go back? And so the story was really incredible. Actually, it was my grandmother gave birth to my uncle and told my grandfather it was a stillborn because my grandfather was a piece of shit, really.
Yeah.
And, was going out cheating with all these women and doing all this stuff. And she didn't want him to affect this new child
Yeah.
the way it affected my dad, who my grandfather was the captain of Oakland Police Department.
Wow.
Had a great career, had everything, and my dad used to be out in the street and his sisters and watch him and wave to him, and he would just wave by and he would drive by and never spend any time with them.
Wow.
So, that was like she didn't want this happening. He's cheating and having babies with everybody else. And so this gentleman was born. He's like, I could tell from his voice he was us.
Yeah.
And he started, putting the story back together, and he followed his tree all the way back to the Johnny Appleseed line.
That's incredible.
And he says, I've been looking for you my whole life. I've been trying to find you and my family my whole life. And I'm home. He's a real estate developer, realtor in Brooklyn, New York, very successful individual. After vetting him for a while and having him sing on the phone and, doing the stuff that my crazy family like Pat, is all about, I knew we were cut from the same cloth.
Wow.
And so I introduced him and brought him out to Northern California to meet my father, who's passed away now, his brother.
Uh-huh.
And it was just like the synergy was absolutely amazing. And then the story of leading back to John Chapman as Johnny Appleseed, and then me investing my life and really what he was all about is just amazing. I mean, the folk stories were real.
The folk stories.
It's crazy how, he carried a pot.
Wow.
Putting on his head, whatever, I'm sure. And this is like I know who I am.
He was a very unapologetic character, right? He's very memorable because of the different quirks and personalities. And that's what I love. And just from the first day meeting is like, that's who you are. You're unapologetically you, which is really cool. The most powerful thing that I feel that's sitting in that story that you just told is that there's generational greatness along with the generational brokenness.
Yeah.
And they're both powerful. And they're both important, right? Because that was an inspiration for you that literally affected your DNA of that man changing generations for eternity, right? And then here you are changing your own family line and changing generations for eternity with what you're doing for a living. And it's part of who you are.
I finally realized who I was at that moment, right? I realized who my father was. My father was he had an old beat up Toyota truck, hasn't registered it in, 15 years, barely ran, had millions.
Yeah.
Right? We're vintners, dry farmers, right? It's like all this stuff. And I'm like, why is he like that? Why am I like this? And why, and I don't really fit in. I never did. I really realized and started studying my, John Chapman. It was like a home run for me. Now my purpose was opened up and shown to me. Reason for why I am and why I've been driving so hard on unraveling the onion peel of Mother Nature and trying to get back to the core that everything was perfect.
Yeah.
If you just look at what she's done,
Yep.
right? We have to ruin everything, synthetic everything, rebuild everything, solvent everything, extract everything, and then say, here it is in medicine when it's just such a lie.
It's such a lie.
It's such a lie. And so I think the biggest part of Johnny Appleseed was, he stayed 2 years in front of the settlers, and his reason, everybody said because he was making hard apple cider, but it was for medicine. He's medicinal. I've been born medicinal dude, right?
Yeah,
and here's
absolutely.
medicinal Johnny Appleseed. My relationship is there, and he did it for putting a couple drops of alcohol in a glass of water so you're not drinking bad pathogens.
That's right.
Okay, there was war going on. There was people that were getting shot. There was no medical, bandage and cleaning and none of that. Alcohol saved lives. You have no refrigeration.
100%.
Right? So how do you store your food? Root cellars, right? When you pull your lettuce out of a root cellar, you wash it with alcohol and you kill the bad pathogens, E. coli or whatever is on it.
Yeah.
Right? You rinse it in that alcohol water. It's medicinal driven in my blood for 5 generations I know now. Now I know my purpose.
That's right.
It's to make world difference and world
There it
change.
is.
And guess what? I'm doing that.
You're doing it every day.
Fucking doing it.
So was there ever a moment along the last 20, 30 plus years that you've been doing this where you're like, man, maybe there's something more? Or were you have you always just been like, no, this is it. There's nowhere else? Have you ever had any just like rabbit, tangents and like, maybe I need to go a different direction.
100%. And that's when God entered my life to the full extent he's at it today. And he put faith over fear. He taught me the most valuable lessons, that money and assets aren't worth anything, because where I'm heading is where the real gold is at.
That's exactly
Right. And so that was the driving factor of my life where it is today. And I went through a lot over the last 3 years. I think we probably talked about where, my empires, tens of millions of dollars. Again, I used to be a builder developer. I lost everything. I built this Soil King empire, and it was stuck. It was stuck in this there's no segregation in agriculture. I'm not cannabis, I'm agriculture.
Yeah.
And I'm stuck in this box of cannabis, and I built this empire that was unstoppable.
Yep.
And God's like, you have to go this direction, and you're not going to see it until I kick the foundation of this out from underneath.
Right.
Right. And as he did that, and I collapsed and lost everything, the biggest lessons and the biggest person came from those moments. It's magical. It was with hell going through it, and God's got this pathway behind me. And he's like, okay, you're just going to go through this hell for another year. You're going to feel these feelings till you start learning lessons. And so I think the biggest thing I can say without taking too much time out of that is when I finally turned around and I realized who was with me, which was really only a couple people out of the armies of people that I supported and took care of for so many years, who I thought were really family.
Yep.
It was a complete understanding of the difference between reciprocal relationships and acquaintances.
That's right.
And acquaintances take all your time.
That's right.
And the reciprocal ones get depleted because they're the deserving one of your time.
Amen.
And so when you look across the board, we only have so much time to give.
Very
so
limited.
Pulling it back and focusing on the reciprocalness is super important. I had my kids, I had Amy, my queen with me. She stuck by me in times where I thought, before this, I thought, well, maybe she's with me for my empire, my money.
Yeah.
When I'm broke and I'm miserable and I hate myself going through this and I'm the worst person to be around, you find out really who loves you.
That's true.
She was one of them. My son was one of them. I had some really good friends. I have a brother, Bill, in Iowa, who I grew up with. He's my brother. Yeah, blood brother, right? Dirk. There's a few of them that were out there.
You've worked on so many amazing projects. You've built empires. You lose it, you build it back, right? What are the things you're actively working on today? Like, what are the things today that you're focused on?
So crazy. I'm building out upstate New York on cannabis, and the reason I'm back into building cannabis projects is because I feel like the void. I was the first micro license given in the state of California in solventless extraction company, distribution and nursery, and anyways, a lot of that. And those are still in operation. I'm still owner of one of the biggest solventless manufacturing called Rosin Tech in California with my great friend, business partner, Sam. California's been really hard because of corporate and all that. So in New York, it was an opportunity for me to go out there and really become an advisory board member before licensing was given to really help what was going to come out of it, to make sure we have craft cannabis. Sun-grown was a thing. Medicinal was a priority. And so I had a lot of backroom meetings, advisory board member type of, and really got to influence where cannabis licensing was going in New York. And I feel proud of that moment, and I'm seeing it really moving in that direction. So I feel like I have that. That's one of the things that I've been working on. But the more the passion thing is, I have and I built I'm just getting ready to launch it, which is great. And looking for, I think I shared it with you, did I?
I think so.
It was, I think I think I shared it with you. You haven't opened your text message. Me, I did. I'll do it to you. It's called Probiotic Farmer.
Yeah.
And so a probiotic farmer, we have a beta test group called the Probiotic Farmer Facebook. And, there's like 13 years worth of information, 30,000, the biggest biological regenerative type of influencers in the world are all beta test group is really what it is. So all the information, white papers, studies, and everything we built on that, we have downloaded it into an AI software, and it's called the Probiotic Farmer. That for backyard farmers, if you want to really understand what healthy, nutrient-dense food is, using fermentation processes. You want to talk about heavy metals, you want to talk about contaminants, you want to talk about all that. These are the sources that you get it from. It'll change. I don't care if you're a monocropper that's turning 100 acres into a regenerative farm. This is a tool for you. If you're somebody that's growing one tomato off your porch, your apartment, this is the tool for you to use. Yeah.
And it's probably going to be very affordable for anybody to be.
Totally. It's a gift. And we're trying to figure out how to really get it to monetize it, to keep it low also make it grow. And so influencers like yourself would be a perfect.
I know.
Yeah, I know, you know.
Help you with that.
It's about changing the world one plant at a time with responsible farming practices and giving the education and tools for the day-to-day person to really feel confident that they're feeding their kids and their family food that is healthy.
Amen.
Mhm.
What is the first thing, before we move to the next piece of this, what is the first thing someone should do in their house or in their day-to-day life that they should eliminate from what they're eating?
Really learn how to read a label. Really understand it, because even the funny words aren't funny words. Natural.
Yeah,
Natural
what's
is
it?
fake.
There's natural
can-
flavors. Yeah.
and anything natural now, or even organic, isn't. You really have to look at what. So I think people really need the awareness of what food labels are in anything, like tampons for one, you know, and all those things on labels.
Bleached and
Yeah, I mean, it's horrible, the things that were being sold.
I can't even go to a restaurant anymore and like eat a potato without thinking of you. I'm like, I wonder if this has been grown with chemicals and like, you know,
They all have.
They all have been, right? So there's so many different things, and I'm sure I want you guys to go and look up his content, check out more of his stuff online. There's plenty of stuff out there from him, other interviews, other podcasts. I'm sure you've done so much stuff. Connect with him online on social media.
The Soil King.
The Soil King. So what is the future look like for the Soil King aside from this
It's
project?
awesome, man. This is a great question. So I'm here. I'm at the Secret Knock. My life has changed to a great center of people who are like-minded, that are willing to go on this journey of saving the planet with me. Like, it's magical, right? We're sitting here. Come on, bro. We're sitting here. Like, this is the journey. The next level is really that we've seen the fallout of chemical fertilizers and watching huge corporate monster companies. For years, I've been this little guy. I'm a visual guy. The only way I described it was, here I am, this little planet that's just trying to expand and grow this beyond organic regenerative lifestyle, right? And not getting everybody's laughing, you know, it's the old Johnny Apple laugh at me, you know, constantly. And here's this Death Star of synthetic cultivation. And, you know, when you buy bottled nutrients, you really have to know it's a leftover byproduct of the petroleum industry. Just know the difference. And it's okay, because it's a choice. If I want to have a Coke, or I want to do, you know, something, it's a choice. I know. So I have the choice, but we're being sold not the choice. We're being sold fake lies, right?
Yeah.
You got, on the left side, we got health and wellness. On the right side, we got synthetic. There's a pure line straight up down the middle. It's either one or the other. Synthetic lifestyle with pharmaceuticals, cultivation, and everything in it is always tried to blend in over here.
That's right.
And now all of a sudden over here, this little dot, this little planet is expanding, right? And it's growing rapidly. And the Death Star is now shrinking in, right? And it's coming in. And now all that big money has to realize, it's now realizing that it has to somehow fit in this little planet, this little fireball that's coming.
That's right.
And for me, it's like, it hurts, because I don't want to allow that. But for the world, I have to adapt to it, because I have to open up to that, because that influence is now, we made an influence for them to come into our world.
It's true.
And the energy is coming into that, and they are going to be here whether we like it or not. So somehow I need to invite it and call out the bullshit.
That's right.
And that's where the Soil King, talking shit with the Soil King 101.
That's right.
That's who I am.
And I heard something recently that was really powerful for me. I don't know if it was Jordan Peterson or who it was. I don't think it was Jordan Peterson. It was somebody along those lines. And they were like, in 100 years, every single person on this planet will be new. None of us are going to be here in 100 years. The earth recycles us, and in 100 years, we're all a whole new people. And so even the people that are running these greedy corporations that are after the money, which they can't take with them when they leave, right? They're not getting any of the riches. I mean, they will. They'll gain them, but from the worldly riches, they're not going to take any of that with them, right? They're still human beings. We're all neighbors here. And so I think that we're starting to have this kind of awakening happening, where they're realizing, like, yeah, profit's important for expanding and all that, but at the end of the day, like, we ourselves don't even want to provide or be part of this product. So we're not eating this in our own homes. We're looking at the ingredients in our own stuff, and we're not consuming this stuff ourselves. You know what I mean? So I think that there's an awakening happening with it. I'm seeing a lot of people, even people who my wife and I call scrunchy, who are not full-blown crunchy, but they're scrunchy,
Okay.
where they're like eliminating some of the products in their home. Like, just the start of that, I'm starting to see with almost every single person I know in my community, people who are like, yeah, I use Tide, and yeah, I buy Oreos, and yeah, I shop from basically the middle of the grocery store instead of the outside, right? And so I've seen so many different changes in just everyday people that has me encouraged, like you're saying, to kind of like people are starting to wake up to it, which is exciting.
Big media has always sold the pipe dream, and we've always followed it like the sheep, I guess,
That's right.
the way of doing it. But now with social media, guys like me, and I'm not alone anymore. I got warriors around the world like me that are really pushing the narrative through these open channels of dialogue and communication, that really what is going on behind the scenes. And now it's like the fire has been lit, and you're seeing everybody, you see the change
That's right.
that's going on. It's sweeping right now. And not even more so, you can tell the impact we're making, because those corporations that are producing the tides and producing this are now coming up with environmental friendly shampoos and all this stuff. So
Yep.
we have destroyed their narrative, and now they're looking to find a placement in our world.
Where they can, can be a piece of it. That's interesting. I love to end every single episode with a challenge that you give, my guest gives to the audience for them to go out and participate in and go do today and then report back to us. What is that challenge you want them to go out and do?
I want you to think of when you're going out and buying a bag of soil, and you're going to make and it says organic on the bag of soil, and you're going to produce some, you're going to Lowe's, you're going whatever and buying organic soil. You're going to have a little, vegetable garden. You're going to start feeding yourself. Don't just look at organic as that. Really understand what's in it. So that organic that they're selling you has come from, it's come from the waste, the dump sites. Okay, let's real quick without that. Let's just this is the challenge. Understand in San Francisco what a street sweeper picks up: radiator fluid, oil, drugs, pharmaceuticals, syringes. Or even one of the worst things is just the sand off the 3-tab oil roof.
Wow.
Because it rolls on it and it goes down. And so all that street sweeper picks up all that, takes it over to the dumps, goes into the compost pile, and backs in and dumps it in there. And that compost pile is now mixed,
Contaminated.
super duper contaminated, heavy metals, just like everything that's not even tested for known to man is horrible in that. And then you have these certifications, OMRI, CDFA, that are certifying this as organic, and you're buying this stuff thinking that you're going to take it home because it's cheap at Lowe's.
That's right.
And it's actually harming your family, and you're doing it. So just question sourcing on everything.
Good.
Right? Hit me. If you have questions out there, also just throw in Instagram, the Soil King, send me some messages. Hey, what does this look like? Or whatever. You have questions like, I am here. We can't change. I can't do this by myself. I need your interaction. So I'm an educator. Let's educate.
There it is. That's your challenge. Go out and start questioning everything with your food, your soil, all the things that you're putting into your body, your family's body. And that's what I want to hear back from you guys. If you guys are making some changes, put them down in the comments of this video, put them down in the notes or whatever you can. Report back to us on social media. I'll be swimming with the fishes, capiche? Always awesome to chat with you.
Bro.
Thank you so much for being on. We'll see you guys on the next episode. This is Love Gangster. I'm Adrian Boysel.
Love Gangster, baby.
That's right. And as always, keep looking up.
Came here to fill the void. I am love. I am peace. I am joy that can never be destroyed. I am